There are more than 100,000 AI tools out there, and most of them are going to be useless. And in fact, they're going to be actively harmful. Let me explain why. If you add any AI tool to your system, you are adding at least two new handoff and integration points, not to mention a whole host of failure modes. Because generative AI products, they're more complex. They solve things that are harder to solve. And so there are more ways they can fail. And so unless you are bought in and ready to sustain the product, you are buying yourself a load of failure. And that is why we see study after study coming out showing companies investing in AI tools and being disappointed by what they buy. Sometimes it's not even just the tool itself, it's the fact that the organization isn't ready. And so today, I want to walk you through the three critical questions that I ask when I'm looking at AI tooling so that you have a framework. Then I want to show you a couple of tools that I think are worth thinking about for specific pain points that you should ask yourself those questions for. And if you want to go deeper, I've got a whole load of tools to review over on the Substack, 45 or so that you can dig into that I've started to ask these questions for. Frankly, I think we should be asking these questions whenever we evaluate a tool. Question number one. Does it kill a pain that we can measure? So when you are trying to find an AI tool, so often you think about hopes, you think about dreams, you think about how far you can go with a tool. The vendor sells you a lot of cool stuff. Do you have a specific pain point? Do you have something that is absolutely crystal clear? So as an example, Guard, which I'm going to show here in a second, it cuts down prompt attacks. That is its purpose. It stops prompt injection attacks. Maybe not perfectly, but a lot of them. If you have a production AI system, you may want to think about a tool like Guard because of that. And I'm going to show these tools at the end of the video. So we're going to stay with the principles here. We'll get to the tools at the end. The point is simple though, right? I can name a pain point. I can say, I have prompt injection risk. Therefore, I need a tool to address that. Therefore, I need to review some vendors to go after it. I rarely see that level of discipline from people who are shopping for tools, whether they're individuals or whether they are larger companies. Either way, I'll give you another example that's individual sort of focused. I want to keep track of my chats when I have them with Claude, when I have them with ChatGPT, when I have them with Perplexity, but I don't have one place to do that. Well, there is a startup that's addressing that now. It's called Nessie Labs, and they have a product out for Mac called Nessie. And that's exactly what it does. It imports your ChatGPT chats. If you use Chrome, it's going to work with you to keep track of your chats. It is laser focused on that specific pain point. But again, it's not perfect. It does not work if you use the Claude app built in. It doesn't automatically keep track of your ChatGPT chats that are not in Chrome. So there are weaknesses, but you can't assess whether it's right for you or not if you don't know very specifically what the pain is that you're trying to solve. If you really care about getting all your chats in one place and organizing them, and you can name that pain, then maybe it's worth it. Maybe that's the right one to go after. Question number two, can we integrate and sustain this tool? So you need to map out the effort of change. If it's an individual tool, like Nessie, the effort is a change in behavior. Maybe you're using another browser, not Chrome. Maybe you're used to using the desktop apps for AI. Maybe you're not ready to do the work of exporting a zip file of old ChatGPT chats to get the organization started inside Nessie Labs to have your memory layer. But you have to decide if that's worth it. You have to decide if the cost of sustaining that over time, of changing your behavior over time, is worth it. If you are installing an enterprise tool, it's of course much more complicated. Your teams will need training. They will need to understand edge cases where the tool doesn't work. Your IT department is going to have to support it. It's exponentially more complex. And every single tool you add adds edges that you have to sustain. It touches other tools in your ecosystem. It touches other teams. Have you mapped that out? Are you ready to sustain the tool? Good tools are going to make it as easy as possible to own setup, to tune your alerts, to figure out what ongoing maintenance looks like in a way that is sustainable for your business. Tools that are poorly constructed assume most of the work for figuring that out falls on you. That's why I'm a big fan of looking at documentation when you want to figure out what tools work. Number three, when you're asking yourself about tools, ask yourself, what is the worst failure mode here, and can we stomach it? Now, individuals sort of get away with one here. the worst failure mode for individuals is usually not too bad. You can actually just look at a particular tool set and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try Nestle Labs. It's going to be fine. The worst thing that could happen is that I end up with a tool with some memory that I didn't end up using. That's not too bad. Or I forget to use Chrome for a chat. That's not too bad. Companies have a much higher bar to meet. Let's say you're using Mem0. It's a memory layer for customer success agents so that the customer success AI agent can remember your customer and interact with them more personally. Great idea. What if there's a catastrophic failure and there's a memory leakage of some sort? Can you stomach the lack of trust that comes with that? Do you have assurances? Do you have architecture in place to make sure that that's mitigated? What if you are using Guard and a prompt injection attack does succeed? What do you do then? And so a lot of what we're doing when we look at tools is we're essentially trying to reference, like, do we understand the pain? Does this actually act like a heat-seeking missile and just go after that particular pain point? If it does, can we integrate and sustain it? And if we can integrate and sustain it, do we understand the downside and have we mitigated for it? If we ask ourselves those questions, we are going to be so much farther along on unregretted tool purchases. There are billions of dollars being thrown around here. Part of how the VC industry is sustaining itself right now is that people are throwing money at AI tools and not asking themselves, is it useful? So without further ado, I'm going to show you just a peek at Mem0, at Guard, and at Nestle Labs, because I think those are all ones that I've referenced here. And if you're curious, I'd love you to dive in. There's, as I'm saying, a bunch more tools that I'll have up on the Substack as well. So this is Lucera. The idea is it's a layer in between your generative AI applications and bad actors. And this is a tool that enables you to proactively understand what is going on. You get visibility. It's going to protect you from prompt injection attacks. You can control and configure. Think of it as like it's the classic security play. It's a shield, right? Like, and you can decide how you configure your shield, et cetera. Nothing is perfect, but it's an example of a tool that's aimed at a particular risk that companies tend to articulate as very painful. This is Nessie. Nessie is exactly what I talked about, an individual AI knowledge base for the mind. You can download it for Mac. The idea is that it's able to capture your overall chats and get them into summaries you can organize, you can play with, you can use. Laser focused on a particular pain point I hear from a lot of people. And last but not least, this is Mem0. It's focused specifically on how you can help AI agents to remember customer success use cases. And so this is a travel example, but you can imagine this for a lot of other examples too. If you have generative AI applications that you're focused on, this becomes a really powerful way to connect with your customers. So I don't pick these because they paid me or anything. They don't know they're being talked about. I'm mentioning them because I think that they do a good job talking about a particular pain point. And I think that they are enabling us to talk about how you choose tools well. I don't care if you choose these tools or not. I want you to understand how to pick tools that work for you. If you'd like to dig in further and understand how I think about tools, I have the same set of questions that I just outlined around sustainment, around picking tools well, around finding the pain point, around worst case scenario planning. And I have that for like 45 tools, because I think that we need to have honest conversations about this, and we have to start somewhere, and we have to start with harder questions than we're asking. So this is the no tools tool episode. I want you to bias to not buying the tool unless it says yes to these questions, because I think too often we're too easy. Like we open the wallet too quickly. We need to be sort of hard-nosed about what tools really matter. So there you go. That's my take. That's how you build a no tools tool culture and pick AI tools that actually matter.